Okay, ang gandang ng bata po, naglupang hinirang. Okay.
The War of Islamic Liberation Front signed a fight.
Oy, bakit yan yun ang pumunta? Ay, ito pa mga sugi, no? Okay, sandali lang, nakalimutan ko ang digital clock ko, no? Okay, naiwan po ang digital digital watch ko mga suki, no? Naiwan doon sa inuman ko ng kape. Okay, basahin po natin ang time check natin. 55 minutos po pasado alas 6. Okay, 29 ng Enero, araw ng Pabuenas, araw ng Lunes. Okay, Monday, 2024 mga suki mga kababayan, no? So yan, 50 minutos ang time check natin. Pasado alas 6, mga kababayan, mga suki natin. Okay, dito naman tayo. Okay, sa pang-araw-araw, pag-araw ng Monday to Friday, no? Okay. Walang humpay, walang tigil, no? Okay, dito naman tayo sa programa natin. Okay, consolidated news natin, local news, kung makakuha tayo, at saka international news, mga kababayan, no? Okay, dito sa programa, okay, halo-halo special, opinion, balita at iba pa. Okay, kasama po serbisyo publiko, tinig ng mamamayan. Okay, and then sumbungan ng mamamayan, no? Okay, babati tayo. Magandang umaga. Good morning sa lahat. Ayan. Universal greeting natin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Okay, pakuan lang, no? Okay, intro lang natin. Okay, magnais po itong si Joy Akbar, no? Sabi niya, okay, gusto raw tumakbo ng congressman sa Basilan, no? Si Joy Akbar. Sabi ko sa kanya, ang politika naman ay okay, swertehan naman ang politika, no? Okay, hindi mo alam mo itong laro ng politika. Okay, walang kasiguraduhan, no? Okay, sabi ko, sige. Kung gusto mo ay tatakbo, may karapatan ka mga kababayan sa inyong ating constitution at saka sa Bill of Rights, no? Sa ngalan po ng demokrasya. Sige, sabi ko, kung gusto mo. Okay, nagtag kasi. Okay, itong si Ahmad Salaw, parang gusto rin ay papasok sa politika mga kababayan, no? Itong si Ahmad Salaw ay gusto mag-governor naman. Okay, sabi ko, sige rin. Okay, hindi natin pipigilan mga kababayan, mga bagong mukha, papasok sa politika, hindi natin pipigilan. Kung gusto nila, ay may laya, may freedom sila na, okay, may karapatan, okay, tatakbo sa politika mga kababayan, no? So yan, binabanggit ko kasi malapit naman ang pagpili, si Joy Akbar, okay, at saka itong si Ahmad Salaw mga kababayan, no? Yan lang alam ko. Siyempre ang incumbent, alam natin na nila Mujib Hataman, alam natin. Okay, sa mga angkan ng Hataman, okay, alam natin mga kababayan na sila yan. Okay, papasok sa politika mga kababayan, no? Okay, sabi ko baka may mga pondo kayo, sige lang, pasok kayo sa politics. Ayan, kasi hindi natin mapigilan yan, no? Pangarap ng tao, hindi natin mapigilan yan. Okay, may laya kasi tayo, may kalayaan tayo. May freedom tayo. Ayan po mga kababayan, lalo sa konstitusyon natin, no? Sa Bill of Rights natin, ay may kalayaan po sa ngalan po ng demokrasya mga kababayan, na. So yan ang alam ko. Okay, pangalan na Joy Akbar sa Basilan at saka itong Ahmad Salaw, na. dating konsehal ito, no? Dating DTI official. Official po mga kababayan dyan sa probinsya, no? Okay, sabi ko baka may mga pera kayo. Magpa-sponsor na kayo rito po sa programa mga kababayan, no? Okay, para may plugging naman, may income po itong trabaho natin mga kababayan, no? Kasi ito, ang trabaho natin sa microphone, pamagitan po ng suporta, mga plugging, okay, mga banggit-banggit ko rito. Yan lang po ang trabaho natin, no? Okay, napadpad tayo rito ay wala tayong magawa. Yan ang destiny po ay kailangan mag-broadcast tayo, no? Okay, yung mga iba kung may mga balak, tipo-tipo kaya meron pa sasabak sa politika o tuburan. Okay, baka may magnais ay maglabo-labo, okay, sa 2025 po sa Basilan. Okay, magpasabi lang. Okay, dito po sa programa natin, no? Welcome lahat po sa ngalan ng Independent News. Welcome po dito sa ADLSNTV News. Online, local po ang gusto. Okay, magpabanggit po ng pangalan, no? Okay, dito sa Zamboanga. Okay, Zamboanga City. Okay, nakita natin may picture ang mga veteranong politician, veteranang politician, itong si Manong Sergio Lobregat, no? Lorenzo Lobregat, former congressman ng distrito ng Zamboanga at saka former mayor po din dito sa Zamboanga, no? And itong former congresswoman din, okay, itong si Beng Climaco Salazar, at saka former mayor din dito sa Zamboanga, mga suki, no? Ayan, so magpakita mga picture, okay, kasi pambihira yan mga kababayan, no? Okay, nila Dan Dalipi, parang matunog itong mga pangalan nila Dan Dalipi, no? Si Dan Dalipi. Si Dan Dalipi pala yung incumbent. Dan Vicente pala mga kababayan, no? Hindi Dan Dalipi. Bakit yung nabanggit ng Dan Dalipi, no? Dan Vicente, okay, councilor, kagawad po rito sa lungsod ng Zamboanga. Parang magandang mga pangalan, no? Okay, Dan Vicente, manager po ng ano ba ito? Okay, brigada, okay, duro, matigas mga kabayan, brigada duro, okay, dito sa Zamboanga, no? Siya po ang station manager. Okay, ang favorite ko dyan okay, si Tita, ano ba yun? Si Tia Karing. Okay, sa kanyang programa. At saka itong si Bing Enriquez po mga kababayan, napaka-popular po ng public service nila, no? Yan lang lagi ko pinakinggan mga suki, no? Si Bing Enriquez, Dear Uncle Bing. At saka itong Dear Ate Karing. Ayan po mga suki, no? Mga popular programa po rito sa Zamboanga, no? Ano, may balak kaya si Dan Vicente sa sabak po sa 2025? Antayin natin, no? Parang matunog mga pangalan yan mga suki, mga kababayan, no? Ayan. Hindi pa natin alam. Ako'y nag-imagine lang. Okay, hindi pa, walang confirmation. Pero yan ang mga matunog na pangalan, no? Okay, kasi sa may, alam mo naman radio po mga suki, na. Okay, and then ng radio nila ay number 1 pa rito sa Zamboanga, no? Ang problema ko, bakit hindi sinama ang studio ko? Ayan po mga suki, mga kababayan, no? Dapat isama nyo. Okay, sa survey. Kung pangilan ng, okay, pangatlo lang ata ako rito sa Zamboanga, no? Okay, sa programa po mga kababayan. Okay, pangatlo ang ADLSNTV News Online, no? Ayan. So, ayan po ang mga latest, okay? Sergio Lobregat, Beng Climaco, Dan Vicente, at saka itong mga iba pa. O yung mga incumbent, ay siyempre incumbent yan, talagang lalaban yan. Okay, itong District 1, Okay, si Kimer, Adan Olaso po ng District 1. And then sa District 2 naman ay si Deputy Speaker. Hindi pa. Is pro tempore pala mga kabayan. Pro tempore. Okay, so itong si Manix Dalipin ng District 2. And then, siyempre man, itong incumbent ay, okay, si Desarrollo. Ano mga ano niya, yung team niya, Desarrollo de Zamboanga. Hindi ko naalala po mga basta meron Desarrollo, no? Desarrollo, Zamboanga itong si incumbent. Okay, John M. Dalipi mga kababayan, no? Okay, kaya sabi ko ang politika hindi mo, okay, depende po pag-execute mga kababayan, no? Pag last minute na botohan, yan po ang pinakamahalaga yung pag-execute. Okay, pagkuha po ng boto, no? Okay, hindi natin na, okay, in-expect na manalo po si John M. Dalipi, no? Okay, pag talagang yan ang destiny mo, kahit pa jayan ang kontra mo mga kabayan sa politika, kasi itong politika ay laro. Okay. Malay mo si Kaimer Adan Olaso, natatalo niya si Bing Clem ako. Kaya nga, pag politika po ay hindi po masiguro mga kababayan, no? Kaya katulad sa Basilan, nila Joy Akbarian, okay, nila Ahmad Salaw, malay mo. Okay, mga suki, mga kababayan, no? Okay. Sino pa? Okay, yan lang nakikita natin dito, no? Zamboanga, Basilan. Okay, Isabela City, wala pa, no? Okay, wala pang tayong alam kung sino po. Mag-ano yan, mga brainstorming sa mga war room nila. Okay, mag-isip-isip po mga kababayan, magtansya. Okay, yung may balak po tumakbo sa politika mga kababayan, no? Ayan, dito sa Zamboanga, ganun yan. Okay, magtansya. Magkano bang budget ko? Magkano bang kaya ko boto? Ganun yan. Sino bang mga core group ko? Sino ba ang mga planner ko? Sa war room yan mga kababayan, no? Mag-isip-isip yan. Halos hindi yan makatulog. Okay, kasi na-experience ko sa politika, ganun po ang trabaho namin noon, no? Okay, pag sa mga war room, okay, mag-strategize, pagkuha ng tao ay talagang masinsinan po ang pagplano mga kababayan, no? Okay, seryoso. Ayan. So mag-isip-isip pa, magtansya ng mga budget, magkano bang budget ko, ibuhos ko rito po sa election 2025, midterm election mga kababayan, no? Kaya yan, inulit ko rin sa Zamboanga ang matunog. Eh siyempre incumbent yan. Okay, si John M. Dalipe, Manix Dalipe, okay, si Kimer Adan Olaso, okay, nila Dan Vicente at saka mga iba po mga kababayan, no? Okay, yan ang mga potential. Okay, si Mariano kaya, anong trabaho niya? Okay, Charlie Mariano, isang eyepiece, sabi niya po mga kababayan, no? Okay, si eyepiece. Okay, si Mariano po mga kababayan, no? Ayan, magaling din. Magaling. Mga nunyo kaya, anong plano nila? Okay, di natin alam po mga suki, no? Ayan. So, magantabay tayo sa mga pronouncement nila. Tayo ay mag-project lang, okay, ng mga sikat na tao po. Okay, sa Basilan, at saka dito sa okay, patay po dyan sa Jordan mga kababayan, no? Okay, under President Joe Biden, no? Under President Joe Biden, 3 U.S. service members killed in drone. Drone po ang binanat sa kanila, no? At saka mahigit 30 ang casualty, yung mga wounded. Okay, mga suki, no? Okay, para press na press tayo rito sa balita ito. Okay, mga suki, mga kababayan, ito po muna, no? Okay. Okay, kailangan ko na mag-improve po ng studio kasi malapit naman ang election. Okay, mga Suki, mga 3 US service members killed in drone sa Jordan, mga kababayan, no? Napuntirya po ng drone. Pakinggan natin po itong balita ito, no?
It's in breaking news now. The U.S. military says
Breaking news
3
ito.
soldiers have been killed and 34 have been injured in a drone attack on an American base in Jordan. There are around 2,900 American military personnel stationed in Jordan as part of 22 deployed there to support Jordan's operations against ISIL. We're going to cross to Alan Fisher. What more do we know about what's been going on, Alan?
Okay, pakinggan natin si Alan Fisher.
Campaign trailers in South Carolina. He's been speaking in the last hour in a church in South Carolina, but he didn't mention this. He was briefed first thing on Sunday morning about what happened on Friday night in Jordan, very close to northeast Syria. They then issued a paper statement from the White House, and Joe Biden were upset to hear the news of the death of 3 servicemen, that a number of other servicemen had been injured. He also adds, these service members embodied the very best of our nation, unwavering in their bravery, unflinching in their duty, unbending in their commitment to our country, risking their own safety for the safety of their fellow Americans and our allies and partners with whom we stand in the fight against terrorism. It is a fight we will not cease. He described them as patriots in the highest sense, and he said they'll carry on the commitment to fight terrorism. Also added, we have no doubt we will hold all those responsible to account at a time and a manner of our choosing. What is interesting there, of course, is that Joe Biden says that he believes that a military group linked to Iran, his words, were involved in this. And just a few hours ago, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the head of America's military, in a television interview was asked, do you think that Iran wants a war with America? He answered it very simply and said no. But we know since October the 7th, there have been a number of skirmishes between the US and some of these groups operating in those areas. There have been a number of drone and missile attacks on American forces, but these are the first casualties, and that will increase pressure on the White House. A White House which has been very
Okay, wag kayo alis, masakit likod ko, no, sa dahilan.
In Gaza and not see it expand to become a much wider regional conflict.
It will, of course, be a concern, but as you say, it is coming at a time when we've seen the U.S. carrying out or being part of operations against Houthi rebels in Yemen. The Houthis have been linked to Iran, and of course, Hamas, the armed group in Gaza, has also been linked to Iran as well. And the U.S. is supporting Israel in its war on Gaza.
Look, there's a pattern to these things, and we've seen it before in the past. It is, of course, a concern that this has happened. Clearly, the White House will come under pressure to do something about this, to respond in some sort of way. But they don't want to see this becoming a much wider war. So the chances of this escalating would be slim. I think every analyst would give you that idea. But when Joe Biden says we will respond in a time and a manner of their choosing, it's clear that there will be some sort of operation. And sadly, what we've seen over the last 3 months is that when there has been rocket and drone attacks, and it was a drone attack which killed these 3 servicemen, we have seen responses normally within hours, certainly within 24. It very rarely goes to 48 or 72. So there will be a response from the United States. And perhaps there is a hope that with this response, that will keep a lid on this, because no one wants to see this escalate into the Middle East, not least the Biden White House. No one wants that, particularly in an election year. We're talking about Joe Biden being on the campaign trail just in the last few hours. And so there will be that sort of response from the Americans, that there will be something almost, for want of a better word, a revenge attack. And then they are hoping that that will perhaps draw a line under this incident, although it is clear that with what we've seen with the pattern of rocket and drone attacks, this could well continue as long as the United States is thought to be giving its massive support to Israel and what it's doing in the war in Gaza.
Alan, for now, thank you very much indeed. Alan Fisher talking to us from Washington, D.C. We're going to bring in Al Jazeera's senior political analyst, Marwan Bashara. Alan was making a point there.
Okay, huwag ka alis.
US is going to have to be
Makinig
very
tayo.
careful about how it responds to this, because it has to be seen to do something in proportion to what the attack that has been carried out. At the same time, it doesn't want to escalate a situation which is already very tense.
Yes, and I'm not sure this is a balance that it can maintain. It's going to get more difficult. I think the whole notion that America wanted not.
Okay, sinasabi lang po ng itong anchor ay very tense po kasalukuyan po sa Middle East, mga kababayan. No? Pagsasabog buyag naman, okay, very tense talaga. Lalo na po namatayan nitong mga American service. Naku, ayan. Mag-retaliate yan mga suki. Okay, maggantihan yan, no? Okay. Kaya sinabi po ng anchor ito, anchorman ito sa television ito ay very tense. Okay. Okay. Sige, i-continue natin, no?
Widen the war in the Middle East that started in Gaza. I think it's going to notice slowly but surely that it is widening and that America is getting stuck. And whatever the mission is, it's becoming mission creep. The fact that it has to attack in Iraq and in Syria, in Yemen, and it has to deploy throughout the Red Sea and the East Mediterranean. America's
Ay, upo lang ako, no? Iwanan ko ang studio, doon ako upo sandali lang.
It's the clearest answer. It's the simplest answer. President Biden needs to end the war in Gaza. This is no time to keep speaking about Iran-backed, right? If you read the Central Command, the CENTCOM Twitter feed, right? Every tweet has Iran-backed, right? Iran-backed this, Iran-backed that, Iran-backed the other thing. But as the president himself admits, that while these groups might be Iran-backed, but they're not necessarily Iran-directed. But these attacks are not necessarily part of a back-and-forth tit-for-tat between Iran and the United States through their proxies. But there are also groups from within, like, for example, like Hezbollah, that's acting not necessarily on orders from Iran, it's acting in solidarity with the people of Palestine, for example. And you're going to see something like that in Syria and Iraq and in Yemen, whereby not everything is remote controlled from Tehran.
Okay, I would want to ask you where a drone came. Okay, what direction? Where the drone came? What the, particular direction, mga kababayan, no? Okay. Yun po ang question ko sa kanila. Where the drone came and what particular nation or group who launched that drone, mga kababayan, no? That killed 3 American servicemen, in Jordan, and another wounded, according to the report, 30 plus. 34 ba yun o 30 plus, mga kababayan, no? Okay, sige. Magantay tayo ng reply, sa mga kalinya natin sa pagbalita po sa global news, sa international news. Okay, mag-feed sila yan, mga kababayan, no? Ayan.
Things just happen. And things might get out of hand easily, especially with those asymmetrical enemies that the United States has throughout the region. This will be, quite dangerous for a president who is...
Okay, asymmetrical, no? Asymmetrical kalaban. Okay, so intindihin nyo kung anong ibig sabihin ng asymmetrical, no? Okay, kalaban po ng Israel at saka kano, mga kababayan, no? At saka US. Asymmetrical enemy. Ayan.
An election year, and who vowed not to get sucked into the Middle East moving forward.
Because we've seen in the past, when there have been attacks on, say, US military bases in Iraq, there has not always been an instantaneous military response. there is, one would imagine, a period of intelligence gathering to try to establish who it was in the first place that actually fired, that made the attack, and then create some sort of, as I say, proportional or directed response. But it is particularly interesting, isn't it, that Joe Biden has chosen to specify Iran within this rather than perhaps wait. And I'm not entirely sure when these attacks have happened, but rather than wait a little bit longer just to establish exactly who it was that fired that flew the drone.
No, I think the boogeyman is necessary. You have to have an enemy more serious than these little groups in certain borders or certain gray areas. See, because it's a problem for the United States if its enemies are in the failed state of Yemen, the failed state of Syria, and the failed gray zones of Iraq, right, and part of Lebanon as well. Right? This is not something you can afford to fight. This is how you get in trouble. The United States, and probably our viewers around the world don't remember that the United States had that experience 30 years ago in Somalia, when it deployed to Somalia, and it thought it understood things and it could control. And probably everyone remembers it on this famous or infamous Black Hawk Down or something. These are not manageable. You think they can manage and you can contain and you can find out who's behind and who did this and you can punish them, like the United States tried to do in Iraq by hitting al-Assad after it was hit on al-Assad base. But at the end of the day, you're going to see sooner or later that the United States is going to be forced to redeploy out of Syria, redeploy out of Iraq. And there's already negotiations of
Palagay ko retaliation ito, no? Kasi ang general po ng isang katulad ng Iran, no? Namatay po dyan po sa drone din. Okay, sa Syria mga kababayan, no? Sa state of Syria. At saka yung latest ay military rin. Okay, military po ng mga mga Iranian ba? Na-target din po, ilan? 3 ba yun? Okay, na-target din po dyan sa Syria mga kababayan, no? So, retaliation ito. Palagay ko kung meron na gumawa ito, okay, baka lang, no? Okay, wala kasi tayong panghawakan na proof. Okay, kung saan po nanggaling ang drone na yan, mga suki, no? Kung saan pinapalipad. Okay, pinapunta po sa Jordan, state of Jordan, mga kababayan, no? Ayan po, kaya tinanong ko, ngayon kung saan po ang nanggaling ang kwan niya na yan, no? Ang drone, tumama po sa American base. Okay, niyan po nakabase po sa Jordan, mga kababayan, no? Ayan. Ganon po katindi po ng mga drone ngayon, no? Ayan. Okay. Ayan po mga suki, no? Mga nakikinig sa atin, no? Recently, bago lang ay bumisita po ang si President Ibrahim Raisi. Okay, papunta po sa mag-state visit po sa Turkey, mga kababayan, no? Ayan. Meron state visit po diyan sa Turkey. Ayan. Bago lang itong semana lang, no? Okay, yung nakaraan itong semana. Okay, parang Thursday ba yun o Friday? Ang bisita po ni Ibrahim Raisi, president po ng Iran dyan sa Turkey, no? Okay, sa trade naman ng mga usapan nila, pagpalakas po ng trade relation po between superpower. Masasabi ko superpower ang Turkey po at saka itong Iranian nation, mga kababayan, no? Iran nation. Okay, so continue natin, no? Okay, antayin natin kung saan nanggaling po ng drone yan, pumuksa po ng 3 American servicemen, mga kababayan, na servicemen. Ayan.
But right, and it might start to redeploy out of the Red Sea as well, because none of this, has any end in sight. What exactly is the objective? Neutralizing the Middle East? If there is no attempt at silencing Tehran itself, and apparently the president is not of the mind that he wants to have a major war with Iran, that means these things are just going to continue to happen. Today, 3 American soldiers are killed, 24 are injured. God knows how many of them
34 ang injured, no?
Injuries, but this is going to continue, and it's already accumulating and it's already expanding.
Stick with us, Marlon, because I want to go to Russell Sutter. He's following developments for us from Tehran. Russell, what are you hearing from there about what's been happening?
Well, as of now, there has been no reaction from the Iranian side yet. However, just to give a context here, Iran's position regarding such attacks is quite clear. They say that these attacks are not conducted by Iran and are not planned by Iran. Iran is not involved in these attacks that are being carried out by the groups across the region. They say that.
Okay, nag-deny po ang Iran, no? Hindi galing sa kanilang drone na yan. So, saan ang galing? Okay, yan pong hinahanap natin mga kababayan, no? So, ang Iranian government, okay, klaro, nag-deny sila, hindi kanila po ang drone na yan mga kababayan, no? Okay, so, saan ang galing? Where the drone came? Okay, this is my question, okay, for the, to clear the issue mga kababayan, no? So, saan ang galing? Saan ang galing itong drone ito? Ayan. So, continue mga kababayan, no? Mababa ito na, huwag kayo maalis. Okay, huwag kayo alis. Mababa ito.
Iran has allies across the region. However, these allies, or so-called axis of the resistance, makes their decision based on their own assessment. So that is Iran's position here. And also it says that...
Okay, itong report ito, itong correspondence ito, galing ito sa mismo sa Tehran, no? Sa Iran. Okay. Sa itong balita ito. Itong mag-feed ng balita galing sa Tehran. Ayan.
As is complicit in the atrocities conducted by Israel, and the axis of the resistance is just reacting to Israelis' atrocities in Gaza. So this is Iran's official position as of now. So, but since the beginning of the war in Gaza, we have seen that there have been more than 100 attacks on American bases in Iraq, in Syria, and also in some other places, but in Yemen, close to Yemen as well, we have seen that Iranian allies have been involved in this. But this was the deadliest one. For the first time, we're talking about the American casualties, and America is explicitly accusing Iran of being behind this attack. So we have seen now there has been a tit-for-tat policy between Iran, USA, and America so far. Just to give a chronology of this escalation. So Iran, one of the top Iranian Revolutionary Guard officials, Ghazi Mousavi, has been attacked on December 25th by Israel in Syria and has been killed. And then after that, we have seen that Iran, as a response, hit a base in Erbil, saying that it was a spy house conducted or run by the Israeli Secret Service, Mossad. And then Iran has responded by missiles to some groups in the north of Syria. And then at the same day, we have seen that Iran hit another base in Pakistan. And this was kind of the reaction. However, right after that, we have seen on January 20, Israel has conducted another attack and killed 5 senior members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, which one of them, Hujjatullah Mudwar, was the head of the special unit of Al-Quds. He was head of the intelligence unit of Al-Quds. And now Iran was saying that it's going to respond in a time of its own choosing. So we do not know whether this attack is a retaliation or not. As of now, there is no reaction from the Iranian side. But now we know that the things are escalating here. And anytime, as there are growing concerns that the war could go beyond Gaza and could turn into a regional conflict. But what is clear here, in Iran, there is a growing discontent among Iranians. So Iranian political elites are feeling more and more pressure from Iranians. And Iranians are saying that the country's response to the Israeli attacks, to the American attacks, is not adequate and would not deter Americans or Israelis to attack on the Iranian allies or even inside Iran. And that's why Iranian political elites here are feeling that pressure and feeling urged to do something. As of now, that is the context, but as I said, there is not official statement yet from Tehran.
So I want to ask you, because we talk a lot about the response that is made by the government in Tehran. We also talk about the response that's made by the Revolutionary Guard. In terms of the Iranian people themselves, is there any sort of sense that you get about how concerned they might be that this might escalate, that this might spill over from Gaza, from the West Bank, and suddenly become essentially a face-to-face conflict with Western powers?
Well, here, Iranians are quite clear. They do not want a regional escalation. They do not want war to turn into a wider one in the region because the USA know, the Iranian officials know that a war, direct military confrontation with Israel, means not a war only with Israel, but also with the United States of America. And that could be a deadly one for Iran. So Iran so far, that's why, has avoided of having a direct military confrontation with Israel, but rather it has been encouraging its allies or the proxies or what Iran calls the axis of the resistance to act. So Iran's response has been through its allies across the region, in Yemen, by Houthis, in
Okay, ang statement po ng public statement po ng government ng Iran, wala silang balak po makipagdigma. Okay, makipagdigmaan po sa Israel at saka United States of America, no? Hindi nila gusto po makipagdigma. Okay, na maliban na lang kung i-atake sila. Okay, na ibig sabihin handa ito mga kababayan, no? Handa bakbakan kung i-atake sila. Pero mismo sa kanilang government, hindi sila papayag po magkaroon ng digmaan. Okay. Ayan po ang public statement po, dineliver po ng news correspondent po ng nakabase sa Iran, mga kababayan, no? Okay, mga suki. Pakinggan natin ulit. Ayan.
The south of Lebanon by Hezbollah and many of other groups in Syria and in Iraq. That is now Iran's position. However, as I said, there is a growing discontent among Iranians, so Iran's position is quite difficult. It is, on one hand, it needs to satisfy the public pressure here, but on the other hand, it knows that a regional escalation, particularly a direct war with Israel and with the United States, would have great consequences. So that's why, for now, Iranians are trying to recalibrate their actions, their reactions to this ongoing crisis that's going.
Okay, sa ganitong situation, no, observation sa war analysis, mga kababayan, no? Okay, maging war analysis tayo. Ibig sabihin po itong mga bansa, itong mga kalaban, okay, sa Israel, okay, kaya nila, ang target nila po kung saan-saan po sa the Middle East, ang mga US military bases, no? So, napatunayan dito ay sa launch ng drone ito ay tumama sa US bases, okay, sa Jordan, US base sa Jordan. Ibig sabihin, kaya po nila magpapalipad po ng kanilang mga pumatay po ng tao kahit saan po dito sa daigdig, mga kababayan, no? Ayan. So, balance. Kaya sinasabi ko, ang Turkey at saka Iran ay mga superpower po sa Middle East, mga kababayan, no? Ayan. Okay, matagal na ang civilization ng mga tao ito. Okay, kaya sinabi ko, may lakas sa pamagitan po ng armament. Itong sa Turkey, kaya pong magpalipad ng drone, unmanned. Okay, lilipad lang and then sasabog po kung saan ang target nila, no? Itong Turkey, itong bansang Turkey, mga kababayan. Ganon po, ka-advance po ng kanilang armament po itong mga Turkey, mga kababayan, no? Ayan. Kaya nga tayo ay nasa gitna. Huwag sana po magkaroon po ng escalation. Okay, dapat po magkaroon po ng de-escalation of war. Agaran po, mga suki, no? So, anong solusyon yan? Siyempre, dyan po nakapokus yan sa Israel-Palestinian conflict, mga kababayan. Ang solusyon dapat yan, okay, magsimula sa kanila para hindi po magkalat po ng digmaan yan, mga suki, mga kababayan, na? Okay, so yan ang pinaka-key. Okay, ang solution po dyan sa digmaan po ng Israeli government at saka itong Palestinian resistant, mga kababayan, no? So kung di yan ma-resolve, okay, parang apoy ba? Okay, magkalat. Hindi mo na maintindihan po, mga kababayan, ang mangyayari, no? Ayan. Sige.
Female voice. Male voice, lolly voice, monster voice.
Okay, apektado tayo lahat. Pati pagkain natin, pati negosyo natin, lahat-lahat na po. Apektado po mga suki dahil sa digmaan yan, no? Okay, magbigay ng problema, sakit ulo po sa lahat mga suki, mga kababayan. Itong problema po ng Israel at saka itong Palestine, mga kababayan, no? Hindi, biro na problema. Okay, malaking problema po. Ayan. Okay, makisawsaw itong mga Houthis. Okay, mga Hezbollah. Okay, yung galing pa sa Syria. Ako. Talagang regional war, mga kababayan, na. Okay. Puro sawsaw eh. Okay, makisawsaw ba? Ano bang kuhew sa yakan kuhew? Yung ibon na dilaw ang yung malaking boses. Kuhew ba? Kuhew. Okay, makikuhew. Makisawsaw ba? Ayan, sige po mga kababayan, no? Okay.
In Gaza, and we can see that there is a clear will from Iran to see an end to the war on Gaza.
Russell, thank you very much indeed. That's Russell Sutter bringing us up to date from Tehran. We're going to go back to Alan Fisher in Washington, D.C. Alan, I understand you've got some more background to the briefing that Joe Biden has been receiving.
That's right. We're being told that Lloyd Austin, who is the defense secretary, of course, has been ill recently, and Jake Sullivan, who's the national security advisor, briefed the president about what happened. Now, what is interesting is that the Jordanians are suggesting, just in the last hour or so, that the attack didn't happen on their soil. They're saying it was in the Al Tanf base, which is in the northeast corner of Syria. That, of course, adds to the complication of the situation there because
Okay, kaya ikaklaro natin, no? Hindi po sa bansang Jordan. Diyan po sa border. Okay, malapit sa Syria ay tinamaan po yung mga sundalo po ng kanoyan. Okay, pinaliwanag po ng Jordanian government na hindi sa kanilang teritoryo. Pero sa border po. Okay, pagitan po ng Syria at saka Jordan yan, no? Okay, Jordan. Bansang Jordan at saka Syria, bansa mga kababayan, no? Okay, so diyan kanon po kabilis pagpaliwanag ng mga tagapagbalita, no? Kasi sa headline, okay, diyan po nangyari po sa Jordan, no? Yung drone na pinasabog yan. Ayan. Sige, continue natin.
The United States really has no mandate to be in Syria. They moved in during the fight against ISIL. They haven't gone away. They are saying that they are there to protect the oil fields there. They are not there at the invitation of the Syrian government, a government which is recognized by a number of other governments around the world. We're also being told that 25 servicemen, all army, were injured in the attack, which also killed the 3. So details will begin to become more and more obvious in the next few hours, but
okay, magbago namang figure kasi sumusunod lang tayo para hindi tayo sinungaling sa mga balita. 25 naman daw ang injured. From 34 to 25 and then 3 patay mga kababayan, no? Okay, so sunod-sunod lang tayo sa balita para hindi tayo magsunungaling po sa ating balita, no? Ayan. Kanina 34. Sa unang balita, ngayon 25 naman po mga kababayan, no? Continue. Ayan.
It would appear from what the Jordanians are saying that the United States, believing that this happened on Jordanian soil, is being rejected by the Jordanian government itself and saying, no, this definitely happened on Syrian soil.
We can go to Colin Clark. He's director of research at the Sufang Group. It's a global...
Alan Fisher po from Washington, D.C., no?
He's joining us from Pittsburgh. Thanks very much indeed for being with us. What's your assessment of what's going on at the moment?
I think, we're still waiting for evidence, but this is very likely an attack by Iran-backed militias operating in Iraq and Syria. We know the handful of groups that are likely responsible or on the short list of candidates. This is the latest in a tit-for-tat between the United States, and between these Iranian-backed groups. And for anybody that's still doubtful, this is really proof positive that we're now in a regional war. There's no denying that U.S. troops have been killed. The United States will respond and will respond.
Tama, 'di ba? Tama ko. Ay magiging regional war po mga kababayan, no? So, nako. Okay. Itong mga OFWs natin, mga Pilipinos po mga kababayan, kailangan mag-ingat, no? Okay. Huwag sana mangyari pa, no? Okay, ako magduwa pa ako. Mag-supplication pa ako na hindi po mangyari pa. Okay, yung kinatatakutan natin, no? Okay, maging regional war itong conflict itong mga kababayan, no? Huwag sana. Ayan. Manalangin pa rin tayo, no? Hingi tayo sa Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Okay, hindi pa muna po maging regional war, no? Okay, marami tayong kamag-anak yan po sa Middle East. Ayan po ang kinatatakutan natin, no? Ayan. Mga OFWs. Okay, sige.
Forcefully, whether that's in Iran proper or against the proxies in the various countries where they operate.
Our correspondent in Iran was making the point that Iran has invariably taken the stance that it is not in charge of these groups, or it certainly doesn't direct them. They may choose to be linked to it, but it does not direct them. Is there a risk to the US if it chooses to take action inside Iran?
There's a huge risk of escalation, but let's be clear. Iran can attempt to distance itself as much as it wants, but we know that it funds, trains, and equips these groups. The IRGC Quds forces, the elite unit responsible for training many of these groups and increasing their skill level. So, Tehran can put out whatever statements it wants, but there will be a response forthcoming. The question is, how does the United States calibrate it without escalating the conflict further? But there has to be a response at this point. U.S. blood has been shed. I think for the Biden administration, there's going to be immense pressure to respond in a way that shows the United States isn't going to sit back and allow its troops to be attacked and killed.
Yeah, it's going to be a fine line, though, isn't it? Because, again, this is the escalation of a war or conflict within the region is something that from the get-go the U.S. has said it absolutely does not want. It has to be, as you were saying, seem to respond to some degree. But calibrating that...
Okay, ang Houthi group mo naman na kababayan, may magpapap naman na dito. Okay, sa platform ng balita natin ay kinokontrol po ang Red Sea mga kababayan. Oh, grabe. Okay, kinokontrol po ang Red Sea ng mga Houthi group galing naman sa Yemen, no? Yung daluyan ng barko magdala ng mga langis. Okay, diyan po papunta sa buong mundo. Kinokontrol po ng Houthi group diyan po sa Red Sea. Wala kasing ibang daluyan. Okay, kung hindi diyan po dumadaan po mga kababayan. Para itong West Philippine Sea din na kinokontrol ng China mga kababayan, na nakakatakot talaga. Okay, ang situation natin, paano na tayo? Hindi na nakakain. Hindi na tayo maglangis. Hindi na magpatakbo ng sasakyan kung ganun po mga kababayan, no? Kailangan talaga may alternative. Ma-solution tayo sa mga supply po ng langis natin, no? Okay. Ayan, no? Okay, sabi rito, Houthis is continue to operation in the Red Sea. Kinokontrol nila po mga kabayan, mga Houthis group, no? Ayan. Sige. Pop up yun. Okay, hindi na ma-accommodate po ng balita, no? Okay, anong oras na? Okay, 43 ang time check natin. Okay, pasado alas 7. Kunti na lang oras, no? Okay, ang isang oras natin. Ayan.
The response is going to be very difficult, not only because of this incident, but also, of course, because of all the other smaller conflicts that the U.S. is finding itself involved in the region.
Absolutely. And look, the Biden administration is now being accused both at home and abroad of being weak, of being feckless, of not doing enough, and of not responding in force against the Houthis, against other groups in the region that have allowed it to escalate to this point. And so I think there's going to be a lot of pressure. We're likely to see action through CENTCOM or Central Command. And the question becomes, what shape does this response take? And how does the United States thread the needle to show the Iranians that it's not going to sit back and allow its troops to be killed? So we're really on the precipice here of some potentially dangerous escalation, and we should be very clear about that.
Colin Clark, it's good to get your thoughts on this, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed. Joining us on the line now is the former Jordanian Deputy Prime Minister, Jawad Anani. He's joining us from Oman. Thank you very much indeed for being with us. There is some confusion, I think, about where this attack actually took place. There was a suggestion it had happened in Syria and not in Jordan. Are you able to clarify for us where your understanding of this attack is?
According to the
Okay. Kaya ikaklaro lang natin no sa news ito, hindi po nangyari sa Jordan territory. Okay, sa Syria po ang nangyari ito mga kababayan, no? Okay, para klaro ang issue, klaro ang balita. Okay, doon po sa Syria po ang nangyari ang border po ng Jordan at saka itong Syria. Ayan, pakinggan natin. Ayan.
Reports that were issued by Western media and so on. I think it is in fact on the border, very close to the western or northeastern side of Jordan and
Northern, hindi eastern, no?
With Syria, and it is a very small post, so it is very close to the Syrian borders. But it is, I think, under the jurisdiction of the American troops, but still under its sovereignty of Jordan.
What kind of response would you expect Jordan to make, given the fact that this has happened within its borders, if what you say is true?
Well, I assume that Jordan would not approve this because it means that Jordan does not allow anybody who is on its borders and within its domain to be attacked inside Jordan. This would be tantamount to war against Jordan. It's not only against Americans in this case. So in a way, I think that we would be express our displeasure and anger at such an event.
There's a certain amount of speculation, as you might imagine, at this stage about where this drone originated from. Can you give us an indication of what the situation is inside Jordan with regards to armed groups that are backed by Iran, for example?
Well, right now everybody in Jordan is completely focused on what is happening in Gaza, and they don't see any other happening except that one. But this is because this has happened inside Jordan. There would be kind of a question mark on everybody's mind in Jordan and it will. And probably some people would really think that we told you so about Iran and Iranian economy, so you have to be careful. But what is worrying me a little bit is that these attacks on American troops, as your previous guest had just indicated, is becoming an election campaign issue in the United States right now. And so probably the people who could probably benefit from such an accident, especially that nobody actually had expected such an attack on American troops in Jordan, to have come from people who really are interested in seeing the war expanding on other fronts. So we have to do our own digging and try to find out exactly where this fire has come from and who is the culprit behind it. And call this a state.
So what is the mood amongst Jordanians at the moment with regards to the risk of a potential escalation? How concerned are people?
Well, they are, because they don't want this war to escalate to other areas. They see that only people who are making statements about expanding this war are the Israelis. So, we don't like it. We don't like the Israeli position in Gaza. And we also don't like to see the war expand.
I should just explain to our viewers who are looking at the map that we're showing at the moment that the Mark Tower 22, which is just on the border between Jordan and Syria, is where we believe the US base is where this drone attack has taken place. And as you can see, it's very, very close, right on the border between the two countries. Sir, I wanted to ask you, in terms of the response that you would expect Jordan to have diplomatically to this, how concerned would Jordan be in terms of retaining U.S. troops on its soil if it were to become the case that U.S. troops were to be increasing targets?
Well, I really don't think that, probably there would be some those who would say, okay, we don't want any foreign presence inside Jordan. But these are few. Most Jordanians don't mind that thing. I don't think that thing. And I think this has come after a long.
Okay, wala na kong oras. Ikakat na lang natin ang balita po mga kababayan. Okay, isang oras na po ang balita natin, no? Okay, at least makapag-public service tayo sa pamagitan na ito mga kababayan, no? Okay, so wala na tayong oras. Ayan. Okay, yan po ang katapusan ng balita natin, no? Ito.
Awesome! Awesome! Awesome!
Female voice, male voice, lally voice, monster voice.
Okay, dito po nagtatapos ang balita natin sa umagang ito mga kababayan. Mahigit na isang oras. Okay, mag-overtime pa rin ako, no? Ayan po ang public service natin. Okay, sa local, okay, sa national at saka international news mga kababayan, no? Okay, bago ko magtapos sa itong PDP laban, talagang humihila po ng malakas mga suki, no? Okay, sa mga movement nila. Okay, kitang-kita po sa ground. Okay, itong PDP laban naman. Okay, na mamayagpag. Okay, sa pamumuno po ng dating Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte, no? Okay, hindi mo ma-deny po mga suki, no? Hindi mo makaila. Okay, ang lakas ng party nila mga kababayan, no? Okay, so okay, baka babalik naman sa kapangyarihan po itong PDP laban, no? Okay, magaling ang mga organizer po ng PDP laban, no? Ayan. Okay, active naman ng politics mga kababayan, no? Malapit na. Okay, midterm election mga suki. Okay, mga kababayan, no? Hindi natin ma-deny ang PDP laban po. Okay, talagang namayagpag mga suki, no? Okay, sa ground. Okay, and then itong public hearing narinig ko po kay itong anak ng Diyos mga kababayan, no? Itong si Pastor Kiboloy. Okay, ginigisa po diyan po sa Senado. Okay, may mga witness na nakita natin. Okay, mag-aliases, no? Mag-aka. Okay. Diyan po sa Senado, no? Okay, mga ganito, hindi ko na lang banggitin dito. Okay, bahala na po ang huskado po ang magpatotoo yan, mga suki, no? Okay, bilang independent news, husgado po ang makapatunay yan, mga suki, mga kababayan, no? Yung pinamunuan po ng senador, okay, Risa Hontiveros. And then, okay, kagabi may sagot din po ang, okay, yung naakusahan. Itong si Pastor Kibuloy sa kanyang SMN News, mga kababayan. Kasi nakabalik na sa ere, itong SMN News, no? So, patungkol dyan, okay, korte po ang pwede paniwalaan natin, no? Okay. Kahit pa meron mga galing na sa Senado, ay korte pa rin magpatunay po sa mga kaso ng ganyan, no? Ayan. So, magantay tayo ng resulta ng kaso na yan, no? Ayan. Okay. Talagang, itong si Pastor Kibuloy ay durog na durog po, mga kababayan, no? Okay. Okay, paalam tayo dito po sa Consolidated News natin sa platform, okay, ng ADLSNTV News Online Corporation, no? Okay, kasi corporation na itong ginagalawan natin, no? Okay. So, okay, sa programa pa rin ng halo-halo special opinion balita, di ba pa? Kasama po sa serbisyo publiko tinig ng mamamayan at sa kasumbungan ng mamamayan, no? Ayan. So, yan lang ang pabuenas natin ng Monday. Okay, maghanap buhay tayo ng marangal. Okay, walang halong mga kalokohan sindikato, mga kababayan, no? Marangal lang ang hanap buhay natin. Ayan, pamagitan po ng mga legal na negosyo, no? Hindi illegal na negosyo. Ayan. Okay. Dito sa programa natin, wala tayong masamang tinapay sa kapwa. Okay, mag-public service lang, purely public service po para sa kapayapaan, no? Kapayapaan po ng daigdig. Okay. Basta sa ngalan ng kapayapaan, lahat yan. Okay, sabi ng Malayo Samwa, all sa ngalan po ng kapayapaan. Na wala tayong pinapanigan, wala tayong okay, independent talaga. Hindi tayo papanig dyan sa mga magkalaban yan. Ang tayo ay mag-deliver po ng balita, no? Iyon po ang purpose. Okay, maghawak natin ng microphone, mga kababayan, no? Hindi tayo magkampi. Ayan. Okay, babalik ako mayang hapon. Tapos natin ang edition po ng programa sa umagang ito. Okay. This has been Abs Damahan lamang po, no? Okay, good morning, Tia Karing at saka Bing Enriquez, mga kababayan, no? Ayan. Uncle Bing. Ayan po, mga kababayan, no? Okay, brigada daw, duro sila. Sa akin naman, okay, kaserbisyo. Okay, kaserbisyo, duro. Okay ba? Ang ating mga grupo. Okay, kaserbisyo, mga kababayan. Tapos na? Okay, sandali lang. Ito na po.
Female voice, male voice, lally voice, monster voice.